Welcome to the Four Verts podcast, brought to you by your sponsorship here.
And welcome back to the Four Verts podcast. I'm your host, Logan C. To my right, Jacob Baycott, Carson Steele, and Grayson Moore. This is episode 2. If you didn't check out episode 1, go back and watch it. It's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. We gave out some locks for regular season win totals. Today we're going to be going up a little something different. We're going to try our best to predict the 4-team college football playoff for 2024. We understand this is a long shot, probably not going to happen, but if they do, it's going to make great for social clips come January. So we're just going to predict the 4 teams, the matchups, who wins them, and who's crowned champion at the end of the year. We're just going to give out our predictions. You know, if you bet it, we'll give you the odds. If you bet it, bet responsibly, always. And I'll go ahead and start it off, if that's all right, boys. I'm going to start out with my 1 seed, the Georgia Bulldogs, 13-0 SEC champs. I don't think that's a big shocker. They have the easiest schedule out of any title contender. They got Tennessee on the road. That's going to be their hardest game all year, I feel like. Maybe Kentucky, maybe give them a run for money. Missouri did last year, surprisingly. Didn't work out for them. But Georgia, I think they just have too much talent. They have question at quarterback. But Kirby just keeps them guys reloaded, stockpile. It's like it's like the old Nick Saban days factory, really. It is. And just next guy up mentality's just always going on it in Athens. Besides that, y'all got any disagree?
I don't disagree. I don't even think Carson Beck's going to be a question mark. I mean, who's he going to be tested by?
You're up.
Yeah, he's not going to play many great defenses in the East. They're better than, other divisions and conferences.
I feel like the worst games maybe South Carolina, Auburn, maybe Florida.
South Carolina really doesn't put up great defense.
They don't.
Their offense can put up points, but
I'm going to remind you of one game, and that was Jake Fromm's last year at Georgia. The Gamecocks go into Georgia, beat the dog shit out of them. I mean, just wore them down.
Yeah, I mean, that's a possibility. I mean, it's not out of the college football.
Yeah, I mean,
whatever.
If you can get Spencer Rattler from the end of the season last season in that game, you have a shot.
Yeah, those besides, we're not counting the bowl game. But
what do he have? 4 games in a row that he was just electric.
Yeah, it was
really
bizarre.
Yeah, he turned it on at the end of the season for sure.
The Tennessee game was the most fun I had of last college football's game, for sure. I had South Carolina money line and I live bet it, and
depends
it was
what version of him shows up that game.
Yeah, for sure. But
I feel like you get the best version of him this year. Hopefully,
maybe so. But back to Georgia, their strength of schedule's just not great for the caliber team they are. If you're a different team, if you're a mid-level team, then that is going to be a hard schedule still. But it's not for them or any team of that caliber. So I got them 13-0 SEC champs, and my 2 seed, which will be on the other side of the bracket, will be the Ohio State Buckeyes. I think they kind of got a little chip on their shoulder after last year, getting beat by Michigan, then getting beat by Georgia on the last second missed field goal on New Year's Day, kicking off at midnight. And I think they got a little chip on their shoulder. Ryan Day, his seat's got to be getting a little warm. The whole born on third mentality, which I don't disagree with, but I do think they have the talent. If they have the quarterback, they can get back to that playoff game and redemption season. I think they'll beat Michigan if they have the quarterback play. I believe you like Michigan pretty well this year. You talked about Blake Corum a little bit, and he is a special running back, but I kind of like the Buckeyes coming out of the Big Ten this year. I'm not scared to say it. That's not really a hot take at all. The last 2 seasons been lackluster. I feel like they got to show up, or Ryan Day's job could be in question for sure next year. My number 3 team, this is where it gets a little hairy here. I'm going to go out on a limb. I feel like I'm a year early on this. Next year, I really feel more confident in it. But number 3, Florida State Seminoles. Pin drop. Yeah, nothing there. So y'all disagree with me on the Seminoles?
I've already said in the last episode, I think you could have them possibly losing 2 games pretty quickly in that season.
They could. They play LSU week 1 and Clemson week 4.
Yeah, those are the 2 games. You win those 2 games, I won't laugh at that pick, but I think
if I win one of them, I feel a little better about it. If they start the season losing to LSU, losing to Clemson, and they start the season 2-2, they're not making the playoff.
Yeah.
They're not making it. But if they can win one of those, I got them 12-1 here.
They have the best shot in the world at winning both of those games too.
They could. LSU.
You're taking Florida State to beat LSU?
LSU's got a lot of question marks.
I'm actually not doing that.
I am.
I'll give him props. Now they beat them last year. I'll say it. They beat them fair and square too. I mean, it wasn't
missed extra point at the end of the game.
It wasn't
a
bad call or anything. Like a pass interference that wasn't called, like you've seen happen before or something like that. I mean, it came down to lack of talent at the end of the game is what you want to really say. I mean,
LSU they lost a lot in their secondary. They gained a lot in their secondary through the transfer portal, but I mean that team's going to need a little time to gel. Week 1, that's coming a couple weeks from now, and Florida State's got them in Orlando, which helps Florida State, and not a tremendous amount. I wish it was in Florida State, but they could lose one game and still win the ACC, and the SEC West with LSU, that's going to be a dogfight, and LSU, Bama, Texas A&M, and who else? So I think Florida State could drop one game to LSU early would help them if you lose early in the season rather than late, and then still beat Clemson. You got to beat Clemson and win the ACC. And I think Florida State's got a shot. They got a lot of talent in the transfer portal. I know I just said LSU's transfer portal could hurt them because they haven't meshed, but Florida State has the same problem really. But they got a lot of talent for Jordan Travis. I'm a believer in him. Thought he looked great in moments, and I expect him to take a jump into an elite quarterback class of this year. Number 4, I didn't really know where I wanted to go with number 4, but I ended up at the Alabama Crimson Tide. I got them 11-2, being the worst record of these 4 teams. I'm assuming they're going to lose one game this regular season. They have a pretty tough schedule in my eyes. I think they could drop that Texas game, even though it is in Tuscaloosa. They could lose to Texas A&M on the road. Arkansas could scare them. Auburn in Jordan-Hare could beat them. LSU at home. Those are always games that can be lost. And then I got them losing in the SEC championship game close. Now I wrote down close because I do believe that game has to be close for them to make the playoff if they lose. Especially if they've already lost a game that regular season. They're going to have to lose in a close game, overtime.
I'll bring this point up. Georgia lost to Bama in that SEC championship in 21. Really was not a close game.
But they were undefeated going into it.
True.
So if Alabama already has a loss, that game has to be close for them to get in.
I don't see Bama getting in
with a loss in the regular
with
season.
Two losses.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
That's not going to happen.
I think you're going to have a lot of one losses this year.
Yeah, I think USC would have a better chance at being in because
I think USC's going to have 2 losses.
Who's your USC 2-loss team?
Probably, I could see Notre Dame beating them, Oregon beating them, Washington
like
beating
Notre
them,
Dame
Utah
is-
beating them.
Yeah, give me that. Give me that Utes, big dog.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they got beat by Utah twice last year, didn't they?
Back to back.
I mean, I don't think there's going to be as many one-loss teams as y'all think. College football gets crazy. I don't know if y'all realize that every year it gets wild.
I've got a question. What happens if Bama stays undefeated until LSU, and say LSU beats them.
Depends
And
on LSU's record.
As long as LSU,
I'm saying they're undefeated, and say you got Bama 1 loss, LSU 1 loss, and say Georgia's undefeated. They made LSU. LSU beats Georgia miraculously. You got Georgia, LSU, Bama all 1 loss. What happens there?
I mean, you have that potential
LSU will
of
be
that.
in.
You
for
have
sure.
that potential of a 3 SEC team college
Playoff.
football playoff. That's gonna destroy. Which I mean, it is the last year of it, and and they may not really.
I think if it's your situation, if LSU beats Bama, then LSU goes on to the SEC championships and beats Georgia, and they all have 3 losses. I think Alabama gets left out because they did not make the SEC title game, and I think that's going to, unless one of those losses are blowouts.
It's gonna be hard to do to count them out of it. But I think he's right. I think you have to count them out of it, just because they're not gonna, like we've been saying, they're not gonna want 3 SEC teams playing for a college football.
Will it ever get to the
playoff.
point where the best team is in, regardless of the?
For sure, it's coming. It's
next
coming.
year.
Yeah,
I mean, next year you'll see.
I mean, yeah, I'm just saying for this year, like say Bama's sitting there with that 1 loss, and like, oh, we're not going to put you in. We've already got Georgia, LSU in.
Yeah. At
Even
that
though we
point-
know you could probably beat one of these teams in here.
Well, so back over my 4, I got in the Sugar Bowl, I'm going to have Georgia versus Alabama. And then in the Rose Bowl, I'll have Ohio State and Florida State. Ohio State, Florida State, I think would be a great matchup if both of these teams pan out to be as good as I think they will be, because they're both huge programs with huge fan bases. Florida State's fan base wants to be back in it. They want to be back alive. Their boosters have put
they're not used to
millions of dollars into it, and that would be great for college football. I feel like to have that program back. There's a lot of programs that's like that, that's just on that stepping stone, wanting to get back to winning football and being dominant in the sport. I would have Ohio State right now. I have them coming out of that matchup into the championship game just because they have so much talent. Wide receivers are stacked. I love their wide receiver core. They have question marks at quarterback again, but they can. I mean, they're going to have to figure that out to get this far. So if they make it, I think it would be great. Georgia, Alabama in the Sugar Bowl. If Georgia, in my scenario, my little fiction world here, I have Georgia beating Alabama in the SEC championship. I think it will be reversed. It's hard to beat a good game, beat a good team twice. Bama moving on that championship against Ohio State, just like 2020, whatever. And I'm gonna have Bama coming out on top against Ohio State. I believe in Nick Saban. I know they have a lot of quarterback issues, but if they make it this far, their quarterback issues are somewhat resolved. So if they make it to the big dance, I think they win it. I think their defensive line is going to be incredible. Their offensive line should be good. I think it's going to go back to an old school Alabama team, run the ball and hit hard on defense, fly around on defense. Their secondary is going to be great, led by Kool-Aid. I like the Bama team as far as every position except quarterback right now. I take that back. I don't love their wide receivers. But I like their defense a lot compared to others. I mean, I may actually still like Georgia's more, but I do think Alabama's got some stars in Dallas Turner for sure, and Kool-Aid in the secondary. I love their defense, and I think if they can get here, that means their quarterback play is somewhat resolved, and I think they can win it. Any thoughts on that? I believe Alabama's plus 600 or 650.
Plus 600.
Plus 600. So, I mean, that's a nice little payout. I mean, I could took the easy way, say Georgia's winning it all, and not make any money.
I think plus 600 is good. I think it's reasonable.
I think that's the best you've gotten in the last probably 10 years on betting Alabama before.
Probably so.
Yeah, I mean,
It's kind of free? Question mark.
yeah, I mean, there's some juice there for sure, but we'll see. Well, a lot of questions will be answered week 2 against Texas about that Alabama team. Jacob, you want to go ahead and kick us off with your?
Let's hear it, Red.
My number 1, I have Georgia Bulldogs coming in also. like Logan said, weaker schedule. Eastern side of the SEC. Not a lot of contenders over there on that side of the ball. I mean, you may have that slip-up loss to South Carolina or Auburn or maybe Florida, like I said earlier. But other than that, I feel like they're just going to run the table against those boys this year. Of course, they're back-to-back national champions. And you can't really put that away at any point in time. When you walk into that stadium, you just kind of feel the energy. So,
Yeah, a lot of players been there before too.
yeah.
Helps.
They're getting 6 returners back on offense. They're getting Brock Bowers back, Lad McConkey back. He was second all-team SEC last year. They're getting Marcus Rosemary Jack Saint back. He was their second wideout last year. 3 returners back on the offensive line. But, again, big question at quarterback. Not really, though. I mean, Carson Beck kind of fits the role in that part. And he kind of had a starting job before Stetson Bennett did. So, of course, you have that. And then you're getting 7 returners back on defense, in which we all know Georgia is a defensive team with a defensive head coach playing. They are bringing back Nazir Stackhouse at the defensive line. They're bringing back Tramel Walther at defensive line. They get Jamin DeMoss Johnson back, who was also all SEC second team last year. They're getting Smell Munden back, who was their leading tackler last year, playing middle linebacker. They're getting their star back, Javon Bullard, Kamari Lassiter playing corner, and Malik Starks, who's their strong safety, who's the second leading tackler on that team. And that says a lot to be your strong safety and the second leading tackler.
Yeah, that for sure does. Their schedule benefits them too.
It does.
With Carson Beck coming in at quarterback, I got the schedule in front of me. I mean, you got Tennessee, Martin, Ball State, weeks 1 and 2. You have South Carolina, but if you can get past that, then you have UAB.
That's a very early game to play South Carolina.
It is, but that's 4 weeks right there that you can get a lot, kinks worked out. After UAB and they get done with Trent Dilford, I mean, you can go into a little more of the bulk of the season, but still not extremely tough.
I have those boys winning the SEC too. I feel that Kirby has Saban's playing card in his back pocket. Of course, he's just, he's been there. He knows Saban's tricks. I mean, but at the same time, it's Nick Saban, so you never really know. Then I have Michigan coming in at number 2. They're bringing back a lot of returners on offense. They've been a powerhouse, run-dominant team for the past 3 years. They're back-to-back Big Ten champs, playoff team in 21 and in 22. May struggle against Ohio State. I don't really see it. I think Harbaugh at this time has it.
I think he's figured him out.
Do
you have them going undefeated? You have a loss in there?
I have them going undefeated up until the playoff. I mean, they're getting.
They got a lot of people back, yeah, for
They
sure.
are. I mean, their offensive line is back-to-back Joe Moore Award winners. And if you're going to be running the ball, you got to have the big boys up front moving the trenches up.
They got them. They got
And
the trenches.
not only that, they have 2 of the best backs in college football right now. They got Blake Corum coming back off of a big season. If he doesn't tear his ACL against Ohio State, I would love to see the numbers that he would have had because they ran through them anyways. Probably potential could have been Heisman winner if
Maybe
if he gets that last game. But they also had their backup step up in Donovan Edwards. He was close to 1,000 yards on his own as a backup, and that says a lot. That hasn't been done by a lot of backups in this time.
You talked about their game in the trenches on the offensive end. Their game in the trenches on the other side of the ball is just as good.
It is.
Their defensive line is impressive.
They're getting back. God, they're getting back their, Junior Colson. He returns as their defensive leader at linebacker. Both starting linebackers from last year are returning for Michigan. They get a cornerback and a defensive back. I mean,
Their
they're
defense
pretty stacked.
should be good again.
Yeah.
And you really do they have a big non-calling game? I'm not sure.
Notre Dame.
They play Notre Dame as
Do
well.
they? I think they might.
Yeah, they play Notre Dame. I think so. Let me look.
I'm pulling up their schedule, but I mean they're going to Penn State, Ohio State.
No, they don't.
We know
They don't
that.
play Notre Dame.
I
do
don't.
they?
I don't.
I think they do.
No, they.
I mean,
I thought they did.
I mean, that Michigan State game is always tough too.
Penn State's. You
They-
can't count Penn
Penn,
State
yeah, you
out.
can't count Penn State out
It is
either. But
on the road as well.
I don't see anybody really keeping up with them this year.
You're playing
I
in the
mean,
wideout at Penn State, probably.
Yeah.
It's not the wideout. I know
Yeah, it's
that.
not wide out. I don't think.
No.
Penn State used the wideout on some crappy team because they keep losing it.
I have them coming in at number 2 though. Obviously winning the Big Ten 3 years in a row. I see that happening. I don't see anybody that can really keep up with them.
Does
on
Ryan
either
Day
side of the
Ryan
ball.
Day get fired if
Ryan
that's
Day
so?
is definitely gone.
You think so?
Definitely. He's
Ohio
been-
State
he's been
cannot put up
tough.
with Michigan winning 3 years in a row.
I know. I mean, it's going to be bad. We don't have hard. I mean, they don't have hardball for the first 4 weeks of the season.
First
but
4 weeks, I can
also
rattle
look
it
at
off.
those. Yeah.
For
Where
the
would you-
people listening at home, first 4 weeks, hardball's out. East Carolina, UNLV,
Tough,
Bowling Green,
tough.
Yeah,
Rutgers.
brutal schedule there.
Tough.
Yeah.
Tough.
Where do you see Ryan Day going after?
As a coordinator, probably somewhere. He'll have to start back down low on the totem pole, and then he'll work his way up.
Probably
He
go to
won't-
Michigan as a coordinator.
Coordinator at the Houston Texans with C.J. Stroud.
He could be.
With
That'd
D'Amico,
be-
with D'Amico Ryan, he'll grab him. He'll be
Yeah.
like, "Yeah, you coach C.J. at
Definitely.
college. He'll go to Texans coordinator."
And then at number 3, I have the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Okay.
I don't have them winning the SEC championship, obviously, against Georgia. I have them going undefeated, hopefully, throughout the regular season. They do play LSU, tough team, and Texas at home, though. I don't see
Both of them
Texas.
at home.
Yeah, I don't really see Texas putting up a fight, just because of the fact that SEC media days, the phrase was mentioned of joyless murder ball on defense.
Dallas Turner. Yeah.
And they're planning on bringing that back. And I don't know if you guys remember the 2011 defense, but this kind of has shades of it going on in the background. I mean, just ruthless aggression.
ball.
Yeah, ruthless aggression going on the defensive side of the ball. Obviously, haven't won the Natty in a couple of years. It's been 2 years since Saban's really tasted the blood in the water. I just went blank.
I had Alabama winning it all, so I'm obviously kind of in the same
They,
pool with you. I think I more had Alabama winning it all because I don't want to pick the chalk pick in Georgia at
Yeah.
plus 200 or 230, whatever. But
I do think it is good that Bama is getting all their receivers back this year.
even though they weren't
Feel like-
great last
even
year.
though they weren't great last year, I do think there was a little bit of lack of chemistry there. I don't think that they really had all that because, I mean, Bryce had been throwing to Mechie. He had been throwing to Jameson Williams. He had been throwing to, like, Jalen Watt. Receivers like that, he had been used to that just burst of speed and everything. And these guys are not them right now. I mean, they have the potential to be all the potential in the world. Ja'Cory Brooks was the leading receiver last year. He's coming back for sure. Going to be a big game changer. And then you get Chase McClellan back too. He did not carry majority load last year for the Tide. I mean, it was more of a Gibbs show.
Yeah.
But he has big play potential. And that's the big thing in Alabama. And he is tough between the tackles. He's not going to go down easy. He's a very, very tough back.
I think if Milroe's their quarterback, it's a
deadly duo.
that is a
It
nasty. I maybe bring the read option out.
Yeah, I mean,
Read option on 23.
bring it back.
Yeah. Play the hits.
You get Tim Smith back at defensive tackle. Dallas Turner's coming back. Kool-Aid McKinstry's coming back. and you have big Jaheim Otis, big question mark, needs to step up. I feel like he has that potential too to be a threat on defense. He is just, he's massive. I have them losing the SEC championship, of course, like I said earlier, and going on and playing Michigan in the Sugar Bowl. Playing Michigan in the Sugar Bowl and winning that ball game. And then as my number 4 comes in, I'd like to shake your hand on this one, Logan. We're in this together. I have the Florida State Seminoles. Ride it till I die, big dog.
I like it.
I can't wait to see the clip of me saying they're going to have 2 losses.
Yeah.
They're 2-2 to start the season.
Not 8-4 in the regular season.
I have them going overall 12-1 with that loss to LSU in the first game. I feel like if they lose to LSU, it is not that big and that deep. I know that them not playing just the toughest schedule in the world is going to help out a lot. But if they come out and they just completely... They have to keep the game close against LSU, obviously. But if they come out and they just start kicking ass against ACC teams, they're definitely throwing them in there. There's no way you can't. I feel like a 12-1 Florida State team with a loss is better than a USC team undefeated.
I don't think so.
Not a shot.
If USC's undefeated, they're not keeping them out this year,
Yeah.
no matter what. But
Not with the reigning Heisman on that team either.
not, no.
And you have, I mean,
And Lane and what's
We
their coach?
If Bama can't get in against TCU the following year, then yeah, that's not happening.
You're probably right.
yeah, I do think, Florida State, if they do lose, I think the Big 12 conference winner has to have, at least one loss in Pac-12 also.
They obviously haven't been to the playoffs since 2014, which is Jameis's last year.
Yeah.
Lost to Oregon that year, big loss. I mean, it just wasn't even.
His only loss as a Seminole.
It was not even a
Shout out
pretty
Jameis.
performance.
Shout out Jameis, friend of the show.
Like I said, ACC champs. I have them playing Georgia in the Rose Bowl. Jordan Travis is returning, obviously. Kind of one of the front runners for the Heisman
He's
in
he's
some
up
people's
there.
books.
He's up there.
They added Keon Coleman from Michigan State, big wide receiver.
Yeah.
Going to be hard to cover for just about anybody.
Yeah, especially in the ACC.
They got Jaheim Bell from South Carolina, one of the most electric tight ends in the nation.
Great last year.
He's
huge.
all
too.
around athlete too. Micah Pittman returns at receiver also.
Mhm.
Jordan, he and Pittman already have that connection. He's going to help out a lot more too. They got junior linebacker Caleb DeLoach coming back, and then their defensive backs are pretty raw, in Renardo Green and Jerry Jones, and then they're getting their defensive end and tackle back in Jared Verse and Fabian Lovett. But I have them losing that ball game to Georgia.
Okay. We got Georgia moving on to the championship.
I have them losing that ball game, and I have Alabama beating Michigan. And I have a Georgia-Bama round 3 best of the best in the Natty. Or would it be round 4?
round
now?
4.
Round 4 now.
No, we're right at round 3.
They had the 2 a year, Stetson Bennett year.
Yeah,
We didn't make
it's
it
round
last
3.
year, so round 3.
Yeah. I have that going on in the Natty, and I have Bama winning that overall. They're plus 600 to win it all. I just don't see anybody just really. That's Kirby playing Saban back to back. He didn't get to play him last year. I could see him having game 1, but that game 2, you can't beat Saban twice in the same year. Ask Les Miles about that.
We have a lot of similarities there.
We do.
In our playoff, the
do.
only difference would be Michigan and Ohio State
Yeah.
as far as teams, and then you have Florida State and Alabama swap towards me.
And I feel like you could see that Florida State in at 4 too.
Yeah, for sure. If they can get there, I mean, it
Yeah.
is an ask them just getting to the playoff, obviously. But interestingly, both kind of had the same long shot little run there, and we both have Bama winning it. Like I said, mine's pretty much just don't want to pick Georgia because the odds are terrible and it's not a lot of. It's not a lot of fun.
I just don't. I don't see Georgia winning back to back to back.
Yeah, three-peat is hard to do.
Yeah.
And but we're gonna take just a quick intermission and then we will get to Carson and Grayson's playoff. Welcome back to the Four Verts podcast. Took a little intermission there. About forgot the words. We've been over mine and Jacob's playoff, and they are eerily similar. And now we're going to hopefully switch the pace to Carson Steele's playoff. Go ahead and start us off, Mr. Steele.
All right, well, we'll just keep the trend going with Georgia. I don't think there's any arguments to be said here. 13-0. I have them going to the SEC championship game as well. And they're just bringing too much talent back. I mean, who doesn't want to go to Georgia? I mean, you can play for a title. You get a Rolex. You get a G-Wagon. Brock Bowers, best tight end in college football. First-round pick.
Don't forget, what was that fancy whiskey Stetson Bennett got, too? Pappy Van Winkle.
Yeah.
Get that Pappy Van Winkle after the end of the Natty, too, big dog.
And you can go and win a bunch of national titles and not even have to go to class and get a degree.
Right.
That's the
7 years, no degree.
Exactly.
Chips, son.
Yeah. That's the life I'm trying to live.
Yeah, I feel like this is Bama back in the day in 2012 when everybody was terrified to play us. I feel like that's Kirby's. He's in the driver's seat. He's got it. He's got them boys rolling. Don't really have to talk about that one for too long. You've heard it from Logan and Jacob earlier, so we agree on that. I think Jacob and mine already simmer brains they have linked up because I also have Michigan at my 2 seed. I think Michigan. I mean, if Georgia didn't exist, Michigan would be the team to beat this year. They're coming back strong. That offensive line cannot speak more highly of that offensive line.
They can move. They can move mountains.
You got him. You got Corum. 1-2 punch. That's like peanut butter and jelly.
You trust McCarthy?
I do. I think the experience from last season, I think he'll mature. And, I mean, if we just look at their schedule, he can game manage the first half of it. I will say this. I think if they're going to lose one, they're going to lose it late. One of the four.
It's a bad time to lose it.
Purdue, Penn State, Maryland, Michigan. I think you can beat Purdue. I think you can beat Penn State. I think if the Maryland game's interesting, you cannot – if they overlook Maryland and look ahead to Ohio State the week after, you could have trouble. I think that game is going to be a lot closer than what people think. And then Ohio State, I think the difference there will be quarterback. You got Ohio State, new quarterback coming in. The receiver room at Ohio State, it's raw, but that's not going to – I don't think it'll edge you out versus Michigan.
A lot of returners on the defensive side of that ball too.
Yeah,
I mean in the secondary, they're like you said, they've got it.
So basically, if you can just get through those last 4 games of the season, I don't see why you wouldn't be in the playoff with Harbaugh coming back after that suspension. I like that a lot. My third pick, I think, is where you guys will fight me. Roll with them whenever I took their schedule last pod. So I'm not going to turn my back on them. I'm going to say LSU at 3. I think it's going to be them or Bama in the West. I think LSU experience factor.
You are extremely confident in them whooping up on mine and Jacob Seminoles week 1, huh?
I think so. I think they got that bitter L in their mouth from last season. I don't think they're going to lose that game.
We're going to get into like our week by week picks, but is that a preview to a lock for you week 1?
I'm definitely taking LSU in that game versus Florida State.
Look at I want you to look the camera dead in the eye. Look at it right now. Look at it, and you tell the people.
You take LSU. You take them.
LSU week 1 is going to be -2.5 in Orlando. You love that.
Oh, yeah. I love that pick, too.
LSU's -2.5?
-2.5.
I love that pick.
Yeah, I think they can win it.
It's a trap.
All right, I bet in Orlando we'll figure out Campbell World Stadium.
Okay, even if they do drop that game, I still think that they have a pretty manageable schedule till you play Bama. And then again, if you beat them last year, your quarterback is coming back with another year of experience this year.
You're forgetting about my Arkansas Razorbacks.
Ooh.
It isn't Death
It'll be a
Valley.
nice game. Yeah,
Right.
That's the difference maker
And
there.
you got Texas A&M at the end of
It's a
the
rivalry
year.
game.
You got Florida at the end of the year.
I'm not worried about Florida.
Me neither. Yeah,
Not worried
I
about
wouldn't
Florida.
be worried about Florida if I was you either.
I think LSU found a groove at the end of last season. I think they're going to ride it into the Florida State game for sure. And I mean that's the iffy.
So-
So LSU.
You're drinking the Jaden Daniels Kool-Aid there, huh? And you think he could be the real deal? Could step it up?
I think so. I think as long as he doesn't turn the ball over, get you points.
He should be able to do that for sure.
Then again, the Bama game, I think if you get by Florida State, that's just your next hard one on the schedule, Bama.
Yeah, and then Florida State game being so early is going to benefit both of those programs because you get penalized for playing, for losing later in the season than you do.
You think
earlier
game day
in
will
the
be
season.
there?
Yeah, I think.
For sure.
No, wait, they've already announced it. Is that
Week one?
Game day, week 1.
Is that North Carolina, South
That's-
Carolina?
It is.
Yeah,
it
that's
is.
right.
Battle
Yeah.
of the Carolinas, yeah.
Yeah, it's at
But I
the
mean,
Carolinas.
that's a good game to be at too, big
It's
dog.
a good game as well. Quarterback played no defense.
Battle
would
of the
be played.
Carolinas. Who is the real Carolina?
I don't know who I'm gonna take in that one yet.
Yeah, we'll get on to that
Yeah.
week 1, whatever. And go ahead, finish. So you got Georgia 1, Michigan 2, LSU 3. Who do you have winning that SEC championship? I'm assuming it's LSU and Georgia in it.
You're right on that one. I've got Georgia winning that one.
Okay, that would make
To
sense
LSU.
for them being number 1. I feel
And
like I could have figured that out with context clues.
do you want my 4?
I want your 4, yeah.
Okay,
I
my
want it
4,
bad.
I think, is what we said last time. He's on the hot seat. If he doesn't get there, I've got USC, Lincoln Riley.
Oh.
I like it.
I've got him getting there. I think they do have some questionable games that they're going to have to
I
show up
looked
to.
up so much USC stuff.
What'd you
For
figure
my
out?
for my 4, and I was like, I just kept looking at it. I was
Figured
like,
out they don't play defense and they have a great quarterback.
exactly, but at the same time, I just kept thinking Utah
Yeah, what's
was
the
in the
Utah-
back of my
yeah.
mouth.
I'm more worried about the Notre Dame game than I am the Utah game.
Utah is on the road or at USC this year.
It is, but
Playing in Utah is different than any other Pac-12 school
Playing-
for sure.
Playing in Oregon will be a challenge. I mean, I think that's a slept-on game, but I really do think it'll be a challenge.
I just if he can't get there this year, he'll never get there. So I'm gonna throw a lottery ticket on Caleb Williams getting him there.
All right, so you got them matching up with Georgia. Who do you have coming out of that?
I've got Georgia beating USC in that game. I think Georgia's defense is going to be too much, and like you said, that's where the difference maker in that game will be the defensive side of the ball. I think Georgia's got the upside there.
That will be fun to watch Caleb Williams play an actual, what we think is an actual defense, And I feel like really the only, defenses he's played is, that of Utah and Washington and, that kind
Washington
of
always
game.
puts out those defensive backs. They
have
good
good
in their
de-
secondary.
Washington
always.
usually does have a really good defense, especially, substantially higher than other Pac-12 schools. So, Caleb Williams versus a Georgia defensive, especially front seven.
I think it'll end up like Kyler Murray versus Bama that year. I mean, he may come out strong, but I think Georgia will pull away. And the other matchup I've got LSU Michigan. I think that'll be another good one as well. But I've got Michigan edging out LSU in that one. I think, like I said, Michigan was already my 2 seed. I love them a lot. Me and Jacob both do. I think Harbaugh will come through in that one. And it'll set up your championship game with Georgia, Michigan. Harbaugh finally gets there. But I think Georgia three-peats. I think it's close. I think near the end, Georgia pulls away from them. Michigan turns the ball over.
J.J. McCarthy pick 6 to seal the deal.
J.J. McCarthy, lights may be too bright. Stadium may be too big. Georgia's been here before. Play like you've been here. I think Georgia three-peats. And Kirby Smart,
They have the defense to match that offensive line too.
That pained you a little to say that, didn't it?
Yeah, it really hurts. But Georgia, Michigan, I think those are your two best teams going into the season. I think you'll see them at the end of the season.
I don't disagree with that statement at all.
I think my most questionable one would probably be LSU or. But I mean, I don't. Does anybody disagree? The SEC West is LSU, Bama.
Yeah,
One of them two
for
teams
sure.
is going to have it. I think so. Whoever one of them two teams capsizes that will be in the playoff.
I don't think
Texas A&M has the talent, but I don't think they have the
Ole
coaching.
Miss has the defense, but I think they have the offense. I think with
It would take Auburn getting really lucky.
it would.
I say it's Bama or LSU for that 3 spot, and I'm going to lean LSU just primarily because of the quarterback situation. I want to see what goes down in that Texas game. But for now, I'm going to ride LSU.
With that.
I like it.
I like
So you got Georgia winning it all. I think it's like plus 230. You're making no money.
Yeah, not making much money here, but
Well, I mean, I guess you are if you hit. We all lose.
Ride it till he dies.
All right. Anybody got anything else on Carson's picks here? I think
Thank you for taking Michigan.
I think USC needs to make it.
yeah,
like
if
you
I
said,
could chime
for
in,
his
I
job.
think the Ohio State game, are y'all taking Ohio State in that one?
No.
We have a lot. I could not tell you. There's so much football to be
See,
played.
I
before that.
think if he doesn't win it with quarterback last year, CJ Stroud, you're not gonna beat him without CJ.
Not with a first year quarterback.
You're not gonna beat him.
I
yeah.
think you're right too.
So that's why I like Michigan late in that game.
There may be something to that. Yeah. So are we ready to move on to Mr. Moore's college football playoff?
It's going to be spicy, so get ready.
I've
I've been waiting for this.
What kind of Taco Bell sauce you putting on this bracket right now,
It's
big dog?
the hot sauce.
Oh,
The
you're
hot
not-
sauce?
Hey, you
That's
know,
the second.
He's not going fire.
Or Diablo.
Oh,
It's-
I didn't think about.
You're
El
that's bottom. That's
Diablo.
bottom.
It's
Hot
still-
sauce is
it's
bottom
still
tier.
spicy. It's still spicy, but not too spicy.
No,
Oh,
hot sauce
perfect.
isn't even
So
spicy.
you're just trying to hurt someone's eye. You ain't trying to make them blind, are you, big dog?
Yeah.
I think you're talking about fire sauce here.
I say Kentucky at your 1 seed.
Okay.
King of these.
So at 1 seed, I'm going to ride with Michigan. I think Michigan.
Oh my!
I think Michigan goes undefeated on the season. I think they beat Ohio State. I think they beat Iowa in the Big Ten champ.
Ride with the Wolverines.
I like it. I don't hate it.
I think JJ McCarthy.
I will go into the Big Ten champ would be great for me. I took them in week 1. Plug. Go watch week 1 if you haven't. Regular season win totals gave out nothing but locks. Iowa being one of them. Continue.
So I think J.J. McCarthy steps up this year. You've got Blake Corum. I think he's going to have an outstanding year. I even could see him being in the Heisman conversation. I'll lock that in at number 1. My 2 seed, I've got a 1-loss Bama team who loses that last game of the regular season to Auburn. They play a tough game in Auburn. They have a tough game with LSU, Tennessee, most likely. But I see them only losing 1 game regular season.
So you got Michigan 1, Bama 2.
Bama 2. I see Bama in the SEC Championship against Georgia, but Georgia's coming to that game with a loss.
To who?
A really surprising loss
To
to the Florida Gators.
Ooh.
No
Oh.
shot. No shot.
Look up that. What week is that game?
That's. It's.
Give
I
us.
feel like it later in the season.
Is that
so
a?
it might be.
Is that a?
What's your
What
deal with
week is
Florida? He
that?
likes
What
Florida
week
this
is
year.
that?
How many points do you want me to like, or how much? I'll give you $100 to beat if Florida beats Georgia, and you give me $5.
That would
You
be
need to
fair.
shake his hand.
If Georgia wins, if Georgia wins, you give me $10. I'll give you $100. So I'll give you
Dude, this.
10 to
Yeah,
1
if you
odds.
don't shake his hand,
I'll
this
take
is.
that bet.
okay. All right.
Air shake.
Air shake.
It's on camera. We have proof.
If
So,
Georgia wins, you'll me $10. If Florida wins,
This is worse.
I'll give you
than-
$100.
This is worse than the time y'all bet when the world would be.
That bet's still going. That bet is still
It is.
going.
He still has a reminder set.
He has he's got like 4 years left and got $1,000.
You could have said South Carolina, Auburn.
They play.
He could
And you
have
landed
went
on
through a
Florida.
whole
They play
list.
September 28th.
you think back to Missouri.
Already
was
a CBS 2:30 game.
it- You think back to Missouri
What
last
week is
year.
that? What week is that?
Be week 5.
Week 5. Lock 'em. from Grayson Moore.
You take what you saw last year in the Missouri game, and you think it'll be a game they really expect to win, especially a game like that. I feel like Florida comes in with a chip on their shoulder, and they take Georgia with one loss.
Hey, Grayson.
I'm looking at their schedule. I
Who's
expect them to
who's
win
playing
every
quarterback
one.
for Florida?
It's what's his name? I know because I've seen it on my Heisman odds. Is
They have the backup quarterback from Florida on the Heisman odds.
I'm looking at their quarterbacks, and
I don't need
I
another
couldn't-
quarterback. It
I
takes
couldn't
heart.
I
It takes
can't
heart.
tell you
Label
which
me
one.
It
one
it is.
that
doesn't
you
matter.
know.
He's got a feeling.
It takes
Okay.
heart. It takes
All right.
heart.
I
Michael
think
Leon.
Black
Michael
Eyed
Leon.
Peas.
Takes hard to beat Kirby Smart.
Which one is
Exactly.
it? Do you know the starting quarterback?
That's why I ask you. I asked him because I figured he might have this player marked down.
What do you like about Florida?
I think it's just the history between the rivalry.
Is it in?
I think games like Tennessee are too obvious.
All right, we'll go to this Florida Gators quarterback later. All right, so your number
2 seeds Bama. We'll
2
rock with
seeds,
that.
Bama. Let's go to your 3 here.
All right. So my 3 seed is a 1-loss USC team
Thank you.
who loses to Oregon. They beat Oregon then in the Pac-12 championship and make it as 3 seed. I think Caleb Williams will have another standout year. I don't have him winning the Heisman. He might be in New York, but I still think he'll have an outstanding season. You've got, I think, 6 starters on offense coming back. You've got 8 starters on defense coming back from last year. So
We'll
I
get that.
think there's growth there. I think they will be a good team. I think they're a pretty good lock for 3 seed.
They needed to rebuild on the offensive line. That was their major downfall
I
last
think
year.
they did. I think they got some transfers.
Me and Grayson watched that highlight film.
It was brutal.
It
Caleb
was
Williams was
brutal.
running for his life. So props to Caleb Williams for winning the Heisman last year.
Yeah.
And then in my 4 seed, I'll ride with the boys. I have the Florida State Seminoles.
Oh,
Lock them.
Florida State.
Lock
I
'em up.
hate. We did that to you, but 3 of us picked you to go to the playoff. That means you will not win 9 games.
Good luck.
Not at
we're,
all.
We're betting the other team every game.
Yeah, so I may fade us just because we all had the same idea. Just
This
like
is definitely getting clipped.
Yeah. Hope Jordan Travis' knees hold up.
So their route, I think they dominate LSU. Sorry, Carson. I think they dominate LSU week 1.
Man, this is going to be a boxing match for me that week.
I think they ride a little bit of a high, but they go into Death Valley and Clemson, and they have a tough time. And I think they lose that game. But after that, it kind of wakes them back up, and they finish out the season. They go 12-1 on the season, and they beat. Well, you've got the Clemson team who beats Florida State, but then they're going to lose to Notre Dame, I believe. I believe Clemson, in all seriousness, plays them in the ACC championship.
Does that loss matter though? If
Well-
Clemson loses it to Notre Dame, they're still in the.
You can see
Clemson's going to have a good ball team this year.
You'll see Florida State and Clemson
surprised
in the
nobody picked Clemson
ACC
to go
championship.
to the.
It was a shot in the dark for me at number 4 too. I did a lot of research on that.
Yeah,
but
I
just
flip
didn't
flop
like it.
between Clemson and Florida State. I do, and no. All right, another thing. Some people may be mad if we even have any listeners. No Big 12 teams have been put in this.
No, but no, they were. Texas was my
There's
4-4 team.
I feel like there's too much hype every year with Texas. I mean, they played Bama close last year, but I feel like every year going into the season, there's so much hype, especially the whole quarterback situation and everything. I mean, they do have Xavier Worthy. I mean, he's a phenomenal athlete.
Great, yeah. They have They have the other tall receiver, and then they have a good tight end as well. But
Yeah. But I think I see Florida State beating. Well, yeah.
you got Florida State, Michigan.
I see
here.
Florida. Well, I see Florida State and Clemson in the ACC championship. I think Florida State comes on top. So
Okay.
bracket wise, I don't know if it'll be Rose Bowl or Sugar Bowl. I guess Rose Bowl. I have Michigan and Florida State. That's on that side. I see Michigan coming out as the winner on that. Sugar Bowl, you've got Alabama USC matchup. I see, surprisingly, Alabama struggles, maybe defense against Caleb Williams, and then quarterback issues. Maybe you don't know what injuries are coming for Alabama because there's always injuries. So USC Michigan in the Natty. Michigan's at plus 850 to win it, and I will take that bet all day long. 38-21 final score.
Got me a final score.
He just took USC over Bama.
He did. Michigan, USC, that's like...
It's spicy.
You had Who did you have USC losing to regular season?
I see them losing at Oregon that game. I see them losing that game.
Who'd you have winning the Natty?
Michigan.
Oh, thank God. Thank God.
I couldn't fathom USC actually winning it.
I couldn't either. And they're
don't
worse
think
than
it that
Texas on the we're back situation.
No.
Do I need to remind you of the Matt Barkley years?
No.
Do I need to remind you of the Matt Barkley years?
Right now.
Do you remember Matt Barkley?
Yeah. But no team is worse than Texas on we're back. That's the meme. Texas is back.
Tennessee?
Texas,
Okay.
They beat Bama.
All right, now let's put it all in the same boat here.
They beat Bama. That's their national championship, so they are back.
If you're in Tennessee's world, you beat Bama, you kind of are back. I mean, that is your national championship.
Texas played Bama close last year.
Yeah, that may be their national championship.
Another reason for LSU to be where that put them.
Yeah, I mean,
It's not going to be a cakewalk that game.
LSU beating Bama, it's like that happens.
Yeah.
Tennessee, Texas, no, that don't happen.
Bama, Texas, though.
That's Chip Kelly's first year in the SEC, and he comes out and he just smokes Saban in overtime.
That was payback for Bama Notre Dame a few years ago.
That was an ass whooping.
Yeah, that
was an ass whooping.
That was all can of it.
That was like you were talking to Mama on the inside, and you accidentally slipped up and said like shit or hell.
Yeah.
She's like, go outside, pick you a limb.
Yeah, that was it.
And then, of course, you picked the wrong limb, and you had to, walk outside with her, and she was like, I'll pick the limb.
All right, so to go back over it, national champions, me and Jacob both have Bama plus 600. Carson has Georgia. I think it's went down minus like 150 or something. No, I'm just kidding. Plus like 230. Giving money to Vegas. Plus Grayson has Michigan. You said it was what? Plus 850?
Plus 850.
That's ridiculous.
It's a lot of money to be made there.
So I think Ohio State is less than that.
They are.
And y'all are all very confident in
You can only do so
Michigan
much.
beating Ohio State.
I don't know why Ohio State's above Michigan. I really don't.
Because they have the best receiver in college football.
My receiver's not going to win you.
They have two of the best receivers in college football.
Would you gotta have offensive line and defensive line guys or a wide receiver?
They're still Ohio State at the end of the day.
Well, I mean, if we're gonna be honest here, you gotta stop that run though. If I'm knocking off 5 to 10 yards on you every play,
beating you down
and just wearing you out, and then you're getting on offense and you're airing that thing out, and it takes you 3 plays to score, and it takes me 10 plays.
Who was your championship game?
Bama and Georgia.
Bama, Georgia. What's yours?
Bama and Ohio State.
So y'all got Bama similar. We've got Georgia similar. Me and him's got Michigan similar. It's all. I think we all got something in common there at the end.
Yeah. A lot of Florida State talk. What other teams? Let's just kind of talk through some other national championship odds. Something you may sprinkle on, a little long shot.
If USC loses a few games, I think Clemson. If Caleb is the goods with that new coordinator, I think they could be right there.
Yeah. Clemson is plus 1,800. So I mean that's a nice little payday.
I
don't hate that. Those odds there. LSU is there. I'm looking at plus 1,200. It's the best odds I can find on that on FanDuel. Pretty good. I mean, pretty good chunk there. You like LSU especially, Carson.
Yeah, clip that.
I do want to say
Penn State's there.
They're there, and they could really.
Penn State,
like
State, and Texas are both 2,500. I hate Penn State.
I'm not a very big fan of the Georgia pick this year. I don't think you can go away from it.
There's too much on the line.
There's too much on the line. I feel like they have to have, like it. it's been a couple years, big dog. You gotta have a bad game.
Yeah.
And when I say a bad game, I'm not talking about like a Missouri game last year, because you can compare that to like
Their quarterback play is going to be a question mark.
yeah.
I mean, we mostly think
And I
it's going to
think
be
that
good.
complacency of, hey, we're Georgia, like we run the show, is gonna eventually bite them.
But it ain't. Yeah, it isn't so far. So,
I know,
like
but
Kirby's going to get him right. He's dealt with that at
You're right.
Bama as a coordinator. He
You're right.
knows how that works, but if his players buy in or not. Rattling off just some odds here. I'm looking down. These are getting super unlikely.
What are Texas odds here?
Texas, best odds you're going to get is plus 2,500. Which, if you think they can win the Big 12 with only one loss, that's probably worse than sprinkle, because they may make the playoff with one loss. Big 12 champion. Notre Dame's plus 3,000. See, I kind of like Notre Dame more than I'd like Penn State, and you're getting plus 500 more odds.
That's a regular season lock there, big boy.
Notre Dame.
Yep.
I kind of like it. That I mean, Notre Dame don't have a slouch of a schedule by any means, but
No.
I think they're a competent team with a competent quarterback in Sam Hartman, and I wouldn't shy away from that. If you do think
What's Notre Dame ranked right now?
preseason rankings hasn't come out. Oregon is behind them plus 3,500, which I don't think is crazy. Winning the Pac-12, beating USC. You picked
Very.
USC to go to the championship, and you had them getting beat by Oregon.
I feel like Washington slept on the Pac-12. I feel like they could upset some things.
Plus 4,000.
They may
right
not
behind
make
Oregon.
it. They may not make it, but they could make anything a toss-up.
Jacob, your Utah Utes, MGM's got them at plus 8,000.
I'm just gonna say this one last time. Rock it with the Utes. All right.
Yeah, the Utes are not winning the national championship, I'm afraid.
what?
But
Definitely not.
it does get super unrealistic after those.
What
many
is
teams-
Wisconsin doing? What is Wisconsin doing?
They'll be in the Big Ten
Plus-
championship.
Plus 7,000. I don't think so.
I feel like Wisconsin will play in the Big Ten. I think you're right.
I think they'll go over Iowa.
It's two run dominant teams right there. Imagine if Iowa was in it. Imagine if Iowa played Michigan in it.
I can see it.
It would be the slowest game you've ever watched.
Take
Yeah.
the under that
It
game.
might take 5
The under.
hours to play that ball game.
No, I think it'd be the quickest game because they're going to run the ball and the clock's going to run.
True.
It'd be the quickest game you ever watched.
You're
Low
right.
scoring, probably.
That's what I meant.
Yeah. How many teams do you think actually has a legitimate shot of? All right, I'm gonna rattle off these odds. You tell me each when to stop when they do not have a chance to win the college football playoff championship here. All right, Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan, LSU, USC, Clemson, Florida State, Texas.
Stop.
Texas doesn't have a shot.
I don't think they can do it.
They beat Bama. They win the Big 12.
Still don't think they do it.
You don't think they don't have a shot.
Well,
Who's their hardest game after Bama?
Oklahoma.
What is Oklahoma? Is anybody big on Oklahoma this year?
I like Oklahoma. I mean,
I don't
I don't.
think.
I think I've already taken them to win the. I know I
That's
I
what
have
I'm
them to win
like.
the Big
It,
12.
That's your
I think
luck.
they could do it. I mean, if you beat Bama, you beat them. If not, I could see you having a win loss and still winning the rest of the season possibly if everything goes smooth in a perfect world.
So Grayson's saying there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 teams that have a chance to win it.
It's reasonable. I mean, with Texas, if they win against Bama, the fire burns out eventually. If they don't,
What about Tennessee?
So
No chance. Penn State, no chance.
I feel like Georgia will just cripple Tennessee. And if
Notre
Tennessee,
Dame.
You were so high on Penn State earlier, though.
I've got Tennessee under wins this year, so I'm gonna keep riding on that wagon that they're gonna lose a few ball games.
Yeah, he does. On week 1, locks, one of Grayson's was Tennessee under win totals. I think that may wrap us up on the college football playoff. Anybody got anything else to butt in? Any other comments?
What's Michigan's slogan? What do they say?
I think just like go big
Go
blue.
Blue.
Go Big Blue.
Go Big Blue.
Go Big Blue.
Go Tigers.
Go Big Blue plus 850.
Roll Tide from me and Jacob. All right, and that was it for episode 2, week 2 of Four Verts podcast. Please follow us on all socials, Instagram, Twitter. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Follow us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts. Listen, download, like, comment, whatever. Tweet at us.
Live, laugh, love.
Yeah, facts. And we'll see you next week. We have the Heisman picks, and we're also going to have a little draft. We're going to draft quarterback, running back, 2 wide receivers, tight end, and O-line. We're going to just do offense, current players. We're going to put a little vote down there, a little poll next week, and see who has the best team. So be sure to interact with us on that. And we appreciate you listening all the way through. Peace.